Freedom destroys the left. This is a discussion on freedom and liberalism and how it is freedom, the liberal conception of freedom, that is destroying the left. Slavery has left the left with a very ugly legacy. The history of slavery and the left leaves those who identify as black sensitive to power disparities. Blacks tend to be more aware about power disparities and about the issues of freedom. This being said, people are less defined by skin than by culture. The person with a deeper pigmentation brought up in the Bronx is not the same as the Congolese, despite similar skin tones. Jamaicans and Nigerians are culturally distinct peoples, though they may share some historic similarities or things in common. But that is the problem with racism. It is difficult to be sensitive about race without being a racist. While it has become common to view hate as a multifaceted and culturally specific thing, in truth, hate is hate, and the hate we feel is the same regardless of the color of our skin or the cause of its expression. Freedom is an ideal, is, however, a dangerous ideal to strive for. There are no unmitigated goods, and if there are, freedom is not one of them. However, it is not popular to tell people freedom is not something to be sought, and is not certainly it is not something to be prioritized. It is far too easy to find things that are impeding one, especially when one is poor. Rebellion against the man or the system pushes one into crime. Of course, the wake up call comes too late for most. Freedom as a knee jerk reaction to every perceived slight has no end but madness. By teaching children to fear the police as agents of harm is to make any interaction demeaning at best. If police are evil, then what choices are left to us but to be submissive cowards or dead heroes? Where is the capacity to treat people, even policemen, as people? A man who acts as if he expects to be shot without provocation will not respond in the normal way that normal people respond. No one wants to be treated as if they are a violent psychopath. Imagine meeting a person who has come to believe you are a psychotic killer. Assuming one is not going to be shot by every police officer who pulls you over leads to better outcomes than imagining the worst. When one imagines the worst, one is stereotyping the person in the worst possible way. Put yourself in their place and act accordingly. Prove to the other person you are not angry, and you are not dangerous, and that you are not a threat, and see how that works out. It is hypocritical to meet others as if expecting to be assaulted, yet be troubled when others view you in the same way. Liberals say they love freedom, but really they are motivated by a hate for all forms of authority. Freedom is not the absence of moral boundaries. Freedom is rooted in the control of property. The way liberals see it, property is possessed by them or others, and this means the other is limiting their freedom. The root of the problem goes back to the question of who owns reality. Satan could not divest God of his ownership, and so he created a false overlay of reality that is based on law. Man's natural identity is covered over with a legal identity. Human rights are turned into legal rights. Satan, as the father of lies, misdirects our minds. He distorts the way we think. Liberals think this development in our consciousness is us being woke to freedom. Freedom in this context has become a meaningless term that refers to us acting as omnipotent beings. Freedom, as a first order principle or an absolute, can have no other meaning or result or implication than a desire not to be under God. In other words, to be God. In practice, freedom gives us power over the things of God. We cannot, of course, actually free ourselves from God, nor can we have power over what belongs to God. We cannot ascend to the highest places. God created reality, and He has final authority over all things. Despite our wishes, we must fit in with physical reality. We cannot dominate or control it. The interesting thing about Satan offering the kingdoms of the earth to Jesus is that Jesus did not tell Satan these kingdoms were not his to offer. Satan owns the governments of men. The mob manifests freedom from the restraints of law, and law expresses freedom from the insanity of the mob. The left is founded on logical, incoherent propositions. Its legitimization cannot be reconciled in a coherent way. Freedom, when founded on physical things, freedom of the body, freedom from physical law, is a logically inconsistent concept. Faith and freedom are inversely related. If we have faith in God, we will have faith in those who are of God. If God is in control and wants good for us, then we will have faith in Him. Since God provides for us through those who serve Him, to have faith in what He is doing is to have faith in those through whom He works. This is the dilemma of freedom. The teen that wants freedom is hard to control. Every attempt to divert the teen from their course of self-destruction is viewed as an attempt to break their will. This was the genius of Satan. When he asked Eve if there were any controls on her, he assured her the control was tyrannical. She would not surely die. Therefore, the admonition not to eat of the fruit was simply an autocratic infringement on her freedom. If one knows good and evil, one is free. There is a simple, undeniable fact that was not brought to the attention of Eve, nor has it been explained by her descendants on the left. Colloquially, it is the realization one cannot have one's cake and eat it too. There is a logic in this world. If one has freedom, one cannot have order. The anarchists are stuck in this dilemma. There are repercussions and consequences to all of our choices. We are imprisoned in our own logic. We cannot think ourselves out of logic. Logic is a prison from which there is no escape other than into madness. Even madness has its own form of logic. If we are mad, we cannot be logical. The two concepts are at odds with each other. To think madness is logical is to be insane. Liberals cannot have freedom and still have logic. Logic is not freedom. Truth is not freedom. When one does not know the future, all paths are equal. They're all the same. Freedom comes at the cost of insanity. We can only be free when mad. As soon as it is revealed what lays beyond the doors into a particular future, one is heir to the truth. When we possess the truth, we can only open the wrong door by being or acting irrational. To act against the truth, one has to act illogically. To be free, one has two options. Freedom comes from ignorance or madness. There are no other ways to be free. Only the stupid and the mad are free. Liberals must avoid learning the truth because the more truth they have, the less free they are. Truth forces us to choose right. If you know all the facts, you will be forced to act according to the facts. If you know the result of your actions, you will be forced to act in the right way, according to the truth that you have understood. Only by refusing to learn the truth are you free to act in any manner you choose. But ignorance is a choice. Ignorance permits random and non-rational acts. To intentionally avoid information that would require a rational response is to act irrationally. One cannot rationally choose to act irrationally. If you do have the information you need to act rationally, and you do not act according to the information you possess, you are irrational. Rational persons educate themselves and act according to the information they have acquired. If you have looked at logic and studied the truth, you will know the last thing you want is freedom, at least freedom from the liberal perspective. Freedom in the form of liberalism permits you to act like a mad person. Freedom has nothing else to offer. That is why freedom is destroying the left. The love of freedom is little more than a desire for madness.